If you want to start your colored pencils journey, you're definitely in the right place, as I'm about to tell you all you need to know about brands of colored pencils, what is best to use for what kinds of drawings, what papers to use, and also some additional materials that you will definitely need to improve your colored pencil skills as much as possible very quickly. Hello guys, my name is Mima, welcome to my art channel. In today's video we're going to cover everything you need to know to start working with colored pencils. When it comes to the colored pencils first, let's talk about brands. Here we have the most popular ones: Prismacolor Premier, Faber-Castell Polychromos, Holbein pencils, Caran-d'Ache Luminance, and Caran-d'Ache Pablo colored pencils. Now the main difference between these pencils is that half of them are wax-based and half of them are oil-based. So Prismacolor, Luminance are wax-based, and Faber-Castell, Pablo, and Holbein are oil-based. Now what exactly does this mean to you? When I was starting out, all I was looking for was the most popular brand of colored pencils. I had no idea what makes them different. So if you like detailed drawings, hair drawings for example, architecture, type of drawings where loads of tiny lines are included, then oil-based colored pencils are perfect for you. But if you want to start practicing drawing portraits and get those like creamy blendings and creamy finishes, then wax-based colored pencils would be the best suit for you. Keep in mind that you can always get them combined, meaning that they're open stocks for each brand and you can purchase them in singles like I did in the beginning. And even if their base is different, you can still combine them and use them all together. So for example, for most of my drawings I use the wax-based colored pencils. For the skin tone and for the hair and the clothes, for example, I most of the times use oil-based colored pencils. When it comes to durability of these brands, I'm not going to speak about this in the video, as if you're a beginner, you shouldn't really care about it, to be honest, as you're not going to start selling professionally straight away. So if you run into these kinds of information online, don't let this bother you in the beginning, as this is really not as important at this stage. This will be important only if you decide to sell your art and then you need to dive into the light fastness of each and every brand. But up until that point, you really shouldn't care about it, as if you're doing prints, you can always use whatever brands you want. If you're transferring your drawings digitally after, the durability of your original work is not that important in the end. The most important thing for you first is to develop your skills and knowledge, and you can do that with any brand, even with the cheapest ones such as Crayola, for example. So at this stage, the most important thing for you to do now is to decide what are your interests when it comes to drawing, and then based on that, choose the pencil brand or the colors that suits your needs. Oil-based colored pencils are not the greatest when it comes to blending. They're a bit harder to blend, so if you're one of those people who doesn't like seeing too much of a difference between the shades and the transition of the colors, lean more towards the wax-based colored pencils. But then again, working with wax-based colored pencils can be a bit of a struggle when it comes to layering details in a drawing, such as the edges of the eye, for example, some small details on the face, flyaway hairs, as they're wax, which means that no matter how much you sharpen them, you can never get that tiny line like you can get with oil-based colored pencils. So my personal recommendation is that if you're a beginner, choose the Prismacolor first, as they are the easiest to work with, and then slowly start getting some Faber-Castell singles, for example, as they're really good when it comes to detailed work. I have to mention something about Holbein pencils. As I was working with them, even though they say that they're oil-based, I had the feeling that there's something in between. The price range for them is quite high, so not everyone can afford them straight away, but just something to keep in mind for the future, as they're now one of my most favorite colored pencils to use. It's because in one colored pencils, you can have both. So Holbein pencils are definitely something to use after you gain certain skills and decide that you love working with both oil and wax-based colored pencils. When it comes to the prices, of course, Prismacolor is the most affordable one. For the rest of them are the prices are quite high, but my suggestion is to start getting them slowly in singles until you get enough money to get the whole set, so you don't have to wait and lose time like I did, thinking that I need to get the whole sets in order to create some miracles. So instead of waiting to collect money, get one by one slowly and work with what you have. Get the basic ones, as again, they are all blendable, meaning that you can create loads of things with just few pencils. I created this eye with just basic set of 12 Prismacolor Premier, and I didn't even use all 12 colors, or using just 3 pencils and black and white and create something like this. So you see, you don't actually have to have loads of sets to start off with. Practicing having so many can be a bit confusing, as it was for me after I got my first set of Prismas and Faber-Castell. It seemed a bit easier being limited with colors, but just to have in mind that you don't need big sets to start off. All right, once we cover that, we can talk about papers. My recommendations would be either Strathmore Bristol Board 300 series, Strathmore Tone 10, or Strathmore Tone Grey for the start. Avoid using any Bristol boards except for this one, as for any Bristol board I tried, by far, the color seems a bit washed out and I wasn't getting any good results. Also avoid too smooth papers, rather get some watercolor hot press paper and work on that one instead of those like very smooth ones, as the colored pencils needs layering, and for the layering you need a paper that can support it. So either all these I mentioned or any watercolor paper that is hot pressed, as these ones have enough texture to support colored pencils layering. Tone papers are incredible for practicing. Also, if you want to practice drawing portraits, you would find Strathmore Tone 10 the best one to use for this, as the color of the paper will really help you out for the skin tones. It's like an underpainting. All painters need a base layer before they start, and it's usually some sienna color, and this is the perfect solution for us pencil artists, as we already have the paper that works for us as a base layer. Another advantage of this paper is that you can use many light colors here as well to make even better contrast and richer tones. So these papers are definitely something that I would recommend to try if you want to start working with colored pencils. I tried loads of papers, but in the end I always go back to these couple of papers. Next one, we have sharpeners. If you want to start drawing with colored pencils, you have to know one thing. Working with unsharpened colored pencils is a big no-no. As I was speaking about papers, I told you about the texture. So every paper has its texture, it's called the tooth of the paper. So by layering colored pencils, we want to layer them equally, and we want for the color, our shades and our blending to be even and richer, and to get all this, your pencil has to be sharpened enough. I've been using this sharpener for years, and I recently started using this little one. This one is Staedtler Usual Sharpener, and the main one I use is the Derwent Sharpener. You can either find these in your nearest stationery or in any of your near art shop, or you can order them online. I ordered mine over Amazon. The link of these will be in the description down below. As for the blenders, if you want to make your colored pencil drawings to look more like a painting and get that bold and rich tones, any liquid blending medium is the perfect choice, such as zested pencil blend, odorless mineral spirits, or even baby oil if you just want to practice blending your colored pencils. The liquid mediums are used with a brush and a tissue. Simply dip your brush in it, clean it a bit with a tissue so it doesn't bleed through the paper, and use it on your colored pencil. Simple as that. After this gets dry, you can layer more layers with colored pencils, which makes these blending mediums a bit different from the pencil ones. Now these ones, for example, I use only when I'm sure that I won't be needing any more layers on top of the current ones, and I use them when I simply like the color, but I still see some texture of the paper, for example, or the tooth of the paper, and then I blend them with the pencil blender. But when it comes to pencil blenders, keep in mind that you cannot layer any more layers on top of the pencil blender. Another very important thing to know is that liquid blenders are not the greatest to be used on a very light colors, as they can only make them look darker, it won't blend, and it won't give you the results that you want. So avoid using liquid blenders on the light layers, especially if you're drawing portraits. I ruined a couple of them like this, so this is definitely something to avoid. For the faces, mostly I use the pencil blenders if I really have to, but all these are very optional and they're not necessary for drawing with colored pencils. Before you even start working with colored pencils, you have to do one thing, but really this will save you so much time. Make a color chart. Now this is something that will save you so much time when it comes to choosing your pencils, and you will also know and remember through time each and every shade. So after a while, you will know in advance which color pencils you need for each and every drawing before you even start. Before I start my drawings, I always get my color charts and I choose the colors that I need, as this saves me so much time going through tons of colored pencils and choosing them randomly, as sometimes the core of the pencil can be different from the outside color of the pencils, if that makes sense. So save yourself some time, study your colors once you make the color chart, and slowly start adding them as you buy new ones. I will upload my color charts on my Patreon page. I will also upload templates of color charts for each brand this month on my Patreon. So make sure to check it out. The link is going to be in the description down below. And also make sure to check out my Patreon page as well for many more content. I upload there real-time step-by-step drawing tutorials, weekly art challenges. My patrons are getting digital prints as well as the physical ones. Every month, motivational content, tips and tricks about art and social media marketing for artists. And many more things. So make sure to check it out and join me there if you're interested in learning more from me. All right, that would be pretty much all. It's like a starter kit in these 10-ish minutes. When it comes to the technique itself, how to use colored pencils, I will speak about it in my following videos, though I have loads of colored pencils videos here where I share tons of information when it comes to blending, using colored pencils, and much more. So make sure to check out more of my content here if you're interested, but these are the most important things to know for the beginning. Everything else is practice, dedication, patience, and loads of ups and downs, bad and good drawings. Give yourself enough time to practice, learn, steal knowledge from other artists, and gain skills through time. This will be all for today's video. I truly hope you'll find this helpful. I see you all next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next week. Bye-bye.